officially. Second speaker, Kanya Bagani. And third speaker, Saneliswe Kulanti, who are representing 56. And then on the proposition side, we have Alex Aldridge as the first speaker. We have Vian Leroux as the second speaker. And third speaker, Sisi Peter. Who are representing West Wing. So just a few formalities before we start the debate. The times for the speakers. Speeches are going to be set to 4 minutes long per speaker. Once the time starts at 45 seconds, there's going to be a bang, which means now POIs are open. This means that the speakers are allowed to ask the people that are speaking POIs, but there's one POI limited per speaker. If the speaker chooses not to take the POI, you can continue to ask POIs, but then once your POI is accepted, then you can no longer ask a POI per speaker. Then after that, there's going to be a bang at 4 minutes. That's the end of protected time, so which means again, no more POIs. Then at 4 minutes 30 seconds, it means that there's going to be a double bang, after which the speaker must wrap up, because at 4 minutes 45 seconds is going to be a continuous bang and the speaker must then sit down. Reply speeches are said to be at 2 minutes, and then at 2 minutes 30 seconds is going to be a continuous bang, which means the speaker must then sit down. So without further ado, we're going to have the first speaker of the proposition side, Alex Aldridge.
Kofi Annan once said, "There's no tool for development more effective than empowerment of women." Ladies and gentlemen, today Vian, Tasipo, and I will show you why the hashtag #HoIsLife movement is detrimental to feminist movements, and that the tool feminist needs lies elsewhere. My name is Alex Aldridge, first speaker of the proposing side, and I will begin by defining the topic and setting the parameters, after which I will move on to my own arguments. Feminism refers to the movement that aims to establish women as equals to men, and to eradicate the needing discrimination based on sex. The hashtag #HoIsLife movement refers to the movement that encourages women to not experience a sense of shame for engaging in promiscuous acts. A hoe is technically speaking synonymous with the slang term slut, but in this context, it will have more connotation with a sense of empowerment in engaging in promiscuous acts, where slut does not. Now on to my main argument. Firstly, the term hoe itself has a very negative connotation. By calling someone a hoe, one is referring to that woman in an objectifying manner. The woman is no longer seen as a respectable individual that she is, and is rather seen as a physical object for sexual satisfaction. Is this not completely contradictory to what the feminist movement stands for? The feminist movement is meant to break down society's objectification of women that we've worked so long to break down, so that they can be seen for the intellectual, educated, and multitasking individuals that they are. Remember, we are not saying whether this connotation is justified or not, but we are rather taking a realistic perspective on how people that are called hoes are perceived. Vian will further elaborate on how this objectification won't give women more or equal rights, which is exactly what the feminist movement aims to do. Secondly, the #HoIsLife movement will cause a great divide in the woman population. An article on the 5th of April on Vox.com titled "Why Women Are Worried About the #MeToo Movement" explains how more than half of the women in the world are concerned about the movement's consequences and would rather have the movement seized. This shows how a movement, even though it has given so many victims a great voice to voice what traumas they are going through, still has many people that are concerned and can still cause a great divide. Likewise, the statistics look very similar for the #HoIsLife movement. For feminists to be a movement that all women can embrace and cross the wall they can follow and grow stronger through, it has to embrace principles and beliefs that will not exclude any woman and will be inclusive of the whole female demographic. Unfortunately, this movement is not shared by all women. In fact, about half of the women in the world do not even agree with it. Feminism cannot grow stronger and bigger while having such dividing stances which within its fundamental core. Vian will again further elaborate on how this dividing perspective could lead to women being pressured to compromise their own moral values and beliefs, which will be detrimental to the feminist movement itself. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. I believe, let us not use the wrong tools to build the future of women. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Let us use the right tools to build the future of women, so that they can get the equality and respect they have deserved for so many years.
Next up, we have first speaker from the opposition side, Sonia.
My name is Sonia from the opposition team, and on our team we have Kanya as our first speaker and Sonia as our second speaker. As her position mentioned before, our motion for today is the Ho's Life movement is counterproductive to the feminist movement. The first speaker, Alex, mentioned earlier that in using the word hoe, it allows women to be objectified, but that's the point of taking it back. It's taking away the power that men have to objectify us as women. Moving on to our positive matter. Let's start with the word hoe. In our patriarchal society, this word has been used to shame women for exploring their sexual life. The word hoe comes from the word whore, which directly means prostitute. And due to society's varying standards, this means that a woman is called a prostitute even before they're sexually active. In embodying the Ho's Life movement, women are taking away the power of the word hoe, and it simply becomes a so what matter, allowing women to embrace their sexuality the same way as men do, further promoting the feminist movement. According to the Urban Dictionary definition of Ho's Life, it says that it is a woman who lives their life as a man. This means that denying the pro-Ho and Ho's Life movement, you're slowing down the feminist movement. This is why we feel that the Ho's Life movement is not counterproductive to the feminist movement, but it actually promotes it. Our second speaker will further elaborate on our points.
Thank you for that, Sonia. Next up, we have second speaker from the proposition side, Leander.
Every human body has its own optimum weight and contour. Whenever we treat women's bodies as aesthetic objects without function, we deform them.
Good evening, my name is Vian Leroux and I'm speaker number 2 for the prop team representing West Wing.
Within my debate tonight, I would like to firstly expand on the negative implications objectification can have on women, and secondly, how the Ho is Life movement is not as empowering as meant to be. Women report being gazed at by others more than men do during social interactions. Women in visual media are usually depicted with an emphasis on body and body parts, usually sexual orientation. This suggests the existence of sexual objectification, as I said.
So who is objectifying a woman?
Women often encounter sexual objectification in social interactions in which their body and body parts are separated from her and reduced to mere instruments. Sexual objectification can be seen as a form of appearance focus directed to a woman's sexual body. Once a woman is objectified, they gradually internalize an objectifying observer's perspective on their own bodies, becoming preoccupied with their own physical appearance. So, in essence, sexual objectification...
What does sexual objectification have to do with the Ho's Life?
I'll get to it now.
Order from the floor. Order.
Once objectified, a woman gradually becoming preoccupied with their own physical appearance. So, in essence, sexual objectification can lead to self-objectification. Where Ho's Life fits in with this statement is that woman who does not hoe around, which referring to the statement Ho's Life, will not gain power and will not live a life. Objectification can lead to numerous physical, mental, social and social consequences and insecurities, such as body shame, and anxiety. The word hoe can be seen as a synonym for the word slut. So saying being a slut is okay and you should live that way to gain power. Yet the paradoxical factor in this trend is that while it may empower women, it won't necessarily provide them with equal or greater rights. And isn't that what feminism actually is? Providing women with equal or greater rights. While feminists around the globe may rejoice at this victory for women's rights.
Is the speaker saying that being a slut is not okay?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
So then why would we pretend?
I'm really sorry. While feminists around the globe may rejoice at this victory for women's rights, the movement may actually be working against those very trends feminists have worked so hard to promote. The fact that women have already achieved positions of power in this country is a step forward for women's rights, though the ideology they promote is not as progressive. Inequalities certainly exist, yes, but women have been getting ahead and doing great things for a while now, in the workplace and beyond. Yet, the overwhelming message now is that women don't own their power unless they shout about their woes. Not all women should have to vigorously express themselves to demand power or equal rights. Another concern is that it would pressure girls who were raised against having sex before marriage, or girls that would just normally not participate in such behavior, to engage in, which is peer pressure at its finest. Why should girls have to objectify themselves, making them objects and going below their morals, breaking themselves down to feel like a someone? I conclude by saying sexual objectification doesn't get oppressive until it's done constantly.
Next up, I call upon Kanya Bangani from the opposition side. I'd just like to say that once a POI is accepted, there is not allowed to be a conversation. It's just answer and
I quote, "Feminism is a range of social and political movements and ideologies that share the common goal of defining, establishing, and achieving political, economical, and personal equality of the sexes." The first speaker spoke about a divide that Ho's life causes in feminism. But feminism implies liberation within women and allows women who want to engage in Ho's life to do so freely. In a society where the male figure sits alone on the pedestal of freedom of expression and by extension, life, the phrase "I am a man" widens the existential gap between the enjoyment of the simple pleasure of life for the side of the sexes that is everything just as defined, except with an uneven distribution of limitations. From the dehumanizing preference of occupational positions over their counterparts, to the simple small pleasures of choosing which alcoholic beverage to indulge in, women have always been castrated for choosing to walk against the wind of doctrine conformity. It's always been taboo for women to enjoy, discuss, initiate, or even brag about sex. Being pro-ho demolishes the negativity associated with the phrase "ho is life," and we believe that it actually further accelerates the feminist movement. It makes women strong in their femininity, gives them confidence, gives them a platform to express and explore their sexuality without shame and fear of judgment. They can explore what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what makes them tick, and most importantly, through this they realize that sex is not just about the man.
Why would an objectifying term as "ho" give someone confidence?
Sorry?
Why would an objectifying term as "ho" give someone confidence, as you said?
Sorry?
Why would an objectifying term such as "ho" give someone confidence, as you said?
As I was saying, it opens up a space where they can finally and freely express their thoughts and feelings feelings about sex which previously have had to be repressed due to societal norms. Ho's life is a way of saying that I'm sex positive, and I believe in the rights of people to safely, sanely, and consensually have sex with whoever they choose to. If something as mundane as sexual endeavors of a woman stand to shake the essence of feminism, one can stand to argue against the redundancy of the movement in the first place. Ho's life is a derogatory phrase used to attack women for showing the same sexual appetite, means of influence, and self-esteem booster that men live by every day in a society that claps hands for body counts and algorithms of body types, shapes, and even ages. If Ho's life is against the view and ultimate progress of feminism, then strip every single woman of her hands, send her back to be a housewife. But if a single aspect of the freedom of feminism stands to create is limited based on morality, religion, race, or any other personal aspect of a woman deserving every bit of liberation that she's fighting for, then this entire movement should pack in and continue to live under the oppression of patriarchal privilege. Because if their views differ, a man is still a man who thinks and does for himself. A man is still a man who is free to weigh his opinion and way of life against another, where it will be listened to, not necessarily accepted or adopted, but never forced out of him for the comfort of others who don't agree with him. Women are taking back their power. They are taking a derogatory term and wearing it as a badge of honor. Most importantly, they are saying to the men that this is not about you anymore. This is our space too, and we are allowed to occupy it.
Next up, we have the third speaker of the proposition side, Sisipho Peter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sisipho Peter, and I am the third speaker of West Wing, of the proposition side of this motion, and I will be rebutting side proposition's points on why they believe Ho's life is actually beneficial to the feminist movement. And going back to the first speaker, Sonia, she was saying that by using the word Ho, we are taking back the power in the word, and they're using it in a positive light to make it more empowering to women. I would like to say that in this day and age, it's almost practically impossible to make that word positive, because the more you use the word Ho, yeah, maybe it may be empowering, but if you look at today's media and today's culture, if you listen to rap songs, like one by the artist's father, only it says, is it okay if I say? Okay, it says, where the fuck my scumbags, niggas put your flags up, ladies put your face down, hoes put that ass up. And then another one is Snitches Ain't by YG, and it says, bitches ain't shit but hoes and chicks, just 4 times, bitches ain't shit but hoes and chicks, bitches ain't shit but hoes and chicks. And if you listen to media like this, no matter how many times you use the word, people are going to hear that word and associate it with the media, where rappers are using it in a negative light to say that women are just hoes and they're nothing more, and it's disrespectful and it's degrading. So the more you actually use the word hoe, the more people are associated with the negativity that is implied in today's culture. And then Sonia also said, the definition of, if you go to Urban Dictionary, the definition of a hoe is living life like a man, and we're taking away that term slows down the feminist movement, because feminism is equality for women with men. So if you're taking away the woman's right to be a hoe, you're taking away her ability to be equal to a man. But then that's saying that a woman's sole identity is found in her sexuality, which doesn't make sense, because that's an objectification of women, isn't it? And then Kanye says, using the word hoe implies liberation, it implies liberation of the woman and allows them to engage freely in sex with men how they choose. But when you go back to the lyrics of songs, another one that I didn't mention was, let them hoes die, stop stressing on me for attention, let them hoes fight, thank you, you're no competition, let them hoes die, stop. And if you go back to this media and guys hear this, guys are going to think, oh, I can just treat a woman however I want to, and women can be like, wait, is this how a guy's supposed to treat me? So now when they go back to using the word hoe, they think that, oh, it's just, no thank you, it's just degradation, and it's not actually taking back the term and allowing them to engage liberally in sex. It's just allowing them to think that it's degradation. And then she said that it demolishes negativity in the word by using it more often, and I think I've already proved that that's not necessarily true. And then it allows women to feel strong in their femininity and to engage in sex without fear of judgment. But that's also not necessarily true, because if you go back to these songs and other songs that I haven't mentioned, that people will say, oh, I don't want a hoe, I want a loyal girl. And if you listen to this culture of music, people are going to think, oh, a hoe isn't cool. That it's not necessarily positive, and you're not going to take away the judgment that people give the word. And then she said, a man is still a man, whatever he chooses to do. And her point was talking about how you can't argue on the fact that it divides cultures, because one of the speakers mentioned that it's a very dividing term, because not everyone agrees with hoe is life. And she said that you can't use that on the premise of feminism, but feminism is for all women. Feminism is about a woman being liberated where she is in her morals, in her religion. And you can't just ignore religion out of the conversation, because it is so important, because I know religion is important to me, religion is important to me, and I still want to be a feminist, and I still want that to be part of my feminism. So you can't just ignore that and say, oh, religion's not important, morals aren't important, because feminism is about all women, about all aspects about a woman. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sissy Paul. Now I call upon the third speaker from the opposition side, Sanelisiwe Kulat.
Okay, greetings to the floor at large. So, the motion for today is that the hoe's life premise is counterproductive to the feminist movement. And our first and second and third speaker came up here and they said a whole lot of things, but I think the biggest thing is that they misunderstood the concept of hoe's life and why we actually have it. We have it because for a long time in society we're living where women have been objectified by men, as our first speaker said, and I asked him by who, and he failed to answer that. And they've been living and they've been told what to wear, how to act, and all of these things, which is why we have this movement. And then I think another problem with this debate is that we have two males come here and talk about the feminist movement, failing to elaborate what the feminist movement is, because the feminist movement is a movement that allows people to act the way they want, to wear what they want, to do whatever they want with their bodies. And no one from Team Proposition came up today and told us what feminism is. Instead, they just came here and spoke about objectification, which is what exactly feminism opposes. Feminism opposes objectification of women. Feminism opposes telling women that you can do this and do that. And Team Proposition also came up here and told us how it creates a divide and it tells a woman that if you're a hoe, you can't be a feminist, which is not what feminism is about. Feminism allows people to wear what they want. If you want to be a religious person, feminism allows for that. If you do not want to be a religious person, feminism allows for that. Okay, and then our first speaker also came up here and spoke about tools to bring our community together, failing in all ways to elaborate what tools we can actually use. Instead, it just said, no, feminism, your hoe's life is not the way, but what we can do is use tools. And then, I think another thing that Team Proposition, forgot to address today is that we live in a patriarchal society. The reason why there's so much objectification that comes with the word hoe is because men have chosen to taboo women who dress a certain way, to be against women acting in ways that make them feel happy. Our first speaker came up here and quoted songs and failed to tell us the gender of the person quoting the songs, because all these songs that are promoting derogatory connotations to the word hoe are songs that are most probably sang by males. And she also spoke about how guys may feel that it's okay to treat, and our problem is not the word, our problem is the mindset of our society. Our problem is that people feel like they can do whatever they want to women. People want to tell women what to do and what not to do, which is what we do not stand for in this as Team Opposition. And I think my second speaker elaborated a lot on the whole concept of allowing women to express and explore their sexuality. We live in a country where we have so much teenage pregnancy, and you wonder why. It's because people, especially girls, they're not educated about sex. They're not allowed to go into that space. It's a very taboo thing. Most of the people in this room don't actually speak to their parents about these things. And Hoe's Life is a platform that allows for conversation around sexuality. It allows for people to learn more about their bodies, for people to know what they want and what they don't want. And now to come up here and tell us that it's derogatory is very off. If anything, Hoe's Life is a very productive tool towards the feminist movement. I thank you.
Thank you
had this whole debate about feminism and the word hoe and hoe is life. And our team showed you how it is in no way counterproductive towards the movement. What team proposition failed to do is, first of all, provide us with what will be a productive way to progress feminism. Instead, they came up here and they spoke about sexual objectification and which are all reasons why we need the feminist movement. Because people for so long have been objectified by males. In our society, we have all of these problems because men have chosen to decide for people what women should do. So my team came up here, Kanya told you how women are now allowed to explore their bodies. Sonia also spoke about the word hoe and how now it's being worn as a badge of women, and that is why I feel like we should be in this debate tonight.
Now I'm going to call up on the reply speaker from the
Ladies and gentlemen, this game is the first time I've ever done it, so please bear with me. So I'll be starting by just summarizing the basic points that we looked at, basic points that the other team looked at, and where the logic, the gaps in the logic that we found throughout the debate. So first of all, I started the debate by emphasizing that the term hoe causes objectification of women, and the term itself is a very negative connotation. Vian then proceeded to tell us more about what the effects are in practicality to the women that experience these terms and what happens on their individual perspective. Secondly, I spoke about the great divide that comes with the term hoe is life, and not all women in the feminist movement necessarily believe in this term. Here, the opposition team, I wanted to question them about that, but they refused to answer. Why this divide is not necessarily a negative thing. So, about speaker, what Sonia started saying in her speech was that through using the term hoe, this is a very sexual term, and through this, women can find their identity. But this is exactly what we found wrong with that whole statement. As Jasipa pointed out, women shouldn't be judged by their sexuality. They shouldn't find their identification based on their sexual acts. They should find that identification of who they are as a person and what their moral values are, not what they do at night behind closed doors. Speaker 2 asked Vian if what we say is important. Speaker 2 asked Vian that do we say a slut is negative? Unfortunately, this showed that she did not necessarily listen closely enough to what we were actually saying. Our point was not to bring across whether the term slut is negative or not, or to say whether it is justified that it's negative. We merely stated the fact and the realistic situation of the world we live in, and what the consequences of that is. She also failed to answer why, when I asked her why a derogative term, has she herself agreed it is derogative. When I asked her why a derogative term would contribute to feminism, once again, she refused to answer my question. And yes, for the judges, I won't be summarizing what Speaker 3 said, because as far as I know, the rules are, I can't lift any viewpoints. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much from our speakers from West Wing and from 56 for this debate, for this very riveting debate. Now we're going to give the adjudicators time to deliberate and decide if they believe has taken the trophy for this debate. Yeah, so I'm going to open up to the floor to hear what everyone else actually personally thinks. Yes, Connor.
Hi. I just wanted to comment on an aspect of proposition, right? Yeah, on one of the aspects that came up in the proposition third speaker case. So when you brought up the point about how the term hoe is used, for example, in music, I thought it was quite a good point, like especially with the examples that you gave and the way you laid it out. I just think it would have been much more effective for your case if you had extended it a bit further. Because in this opposition's third speaker speech, they came and they commented about the fact that, well, these songs are sung by men and stuff like that, right? So I think an effective extension of your point, while you were still giving it, would be to say, the reason that the hoe's life movement is counterproductive to feminism, at least at the moment in society, is because men can still use the term in a problematic way, and then make an argument about other terms which are used, which have been reclaimed. So, for example, the N-word, or for example, okay, the F word, but like the one for spectrum. Yeah. So those words differ from the word hoe in that only the people who have reclaimed that word are allowed to say it. We don't think it's acceptable for anyone else to say it, and so therefore the word has been reclaimed. So in today's current context, you could make an argument that people still use hoe derogatively on both sides, and so at the moment it's still counterproductive because women haven't put things in place that stop other people from saying it. A more effective thing would be like just stop men from using the word hoe. So that might have been an interesting extension for the argument, I thought.
I like totally agree with what you're saying, and I like what you're saying a lot, and I want to add to what you're saying. And I like the one song was actually by a woman, and I wanted to say it. And then in my research, I was gonna bring up Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, but like there was no time. But about how like they also perpetuate the whole like being a hoe is what makes you popular. Like if you look at like less mainstream female rappers, they're not as sexualized. Whereas the bigger ones, like the music companies, use their sex and their like how sexy they are to sell their music. And I wanted to say that, but I didn't get a chance.
Does anybody else have anything to say? What do you guys personally feel about the whole Always Live movement? Nobody?
Yeah, personally, I'm all for whatever we want to do with the person. But like the word hoe comes from the word whore, but they don't ever say whore is life because obviously everyone knows that the word whore is so negative that it cannot not be used in regular conversation. So why then would you say hoe, the sugar-coated version of the same word, is empowering when you're afraid to use the one that is most detrimental?
I think the way like I personally see it is that like what this 56 is trying to bring across is that we're trying to allow women to be able to take back their sexuality to what they believe it should be. So if you want to, wait for sex till marriage, that's cool. If you want to have sex with this person and that person, that's okay. If you want to do this, if you're into that, that's okay. I think what the whole point is that we're taking away the negative connotation from the word hoe. And I think maybe like what you said about Cardi B and Nicki Minaj being sexualized, I think that's what, maybe successfully or not, that can be debated, but maybe that's what they're trying to bring across, that it's okay for me to be like this and dress however I want to, because nobody, like, it's not about what men think about me, it's about what I think about me. Melinda?
Question for Timiko. How do you guys think that it would be a better, or what approach would be better and not problematic, because you guys say it's subjective women? How do you think it would be a better approach for women and men in society to feel the same freedom in terms of expressing their sexuality without this whole life is beautiful? Like, how do you think it's a better way to approach women and men to be have the same freedom and feel the same way that men in society feel? Like, how do you think is a better way to approach that without empowering women with this whole life, which is the actual problem?
Can I just say, like, some of the points were like, for the sake of the debate, and it is from my side, but for the sake of the debate.
So if anyone strongly believes, if someone here is strongly is against the motion, I want to know how do you think is a better way?
I'm gonna elaborate. But I'm the type of person who's like, everyone should do what they want to do if they're not hurting anyone else. So I feel like the Hoe is Life movement is okay. Like, it's not necessarily harmful. It's just they should also, like, I see a lot of I follow a lot of feminist Instagram pages, and they focus a lot on safe sex and like getting checked and all that stuff, and like consent and all that stuff. So I think bringing that more into light of like safe sex, consent and all that stuff, adding that to the movement, I think would be beneficial. So not getting rid of the movement completely, but like,
so how is like this whole thing not the safe sex part? Like, don't you think that's the same thing? Like,
sorry?
Don't you think like the way whole, like you said that like do you think that like it insinuates not safe sex and being promiscuous and everything?
Not insinuating not safe sex, but I'm saying adding it more to the the forefront. So like talking about it more. I'm not saying it insinuates it necessarily, but I'm saying it bringing it more to the forefront. You know what I mean? Like more than it is now.
Okay, so we thought it was a very good debate for both sides. At the end of the day, we did give the debate to team proposition. Just in general, we felt that team proposition had a more, the argument was more set out well, kind of. And then with the opposition side, the arguments, it was almost like a struggle to clash with some of the points that proposition was bringing up. The arguments were a bit all over the place. Then it came down to two main arguments that we saw. It was about the word "ho" itself became, and then with the proposition side, they were talking about how "ho" kind of defines this whole sexual objectification, and then with the opposition side, it was more, but that can empower certain women, and that's also where the second big argument came in about the whole divide. But then we felt that proposition had more, so they had more examples and more cases of how this was true, whereas with opposition they didn't really clash with that. Anything else?
I think another thing that we spoke about was that the two teams agreed in terms of definitions when it came to feminism. They agree that feminism does include all women and is supposed to be including of all women, regardless of religion, culture, and behavior. And we felt as though the arguments of the proposition team were more applicable to all women and all different kinds of women, whereas the opposition team, in the validity of their arguments, it was more specific to people who had the need of the liberation of feminism, if that makes sense.
I think Sunny was going with the right idea when she was talking about how feminism can be applied to all people, but they didn't really put that into practice into further argument, and it only came in later in the debate.
A secret to debating could be is if you make a statement, even if it's just a minor proof that that statement is true, that's vital to just ground the statements, because we could see that you guys really believed in what you said, and all we needed was just some proof to ground what you believe. And something as simple as quoting a rap song grounded the fact that you said the media creates an implication of the word "ho" and things like that. So making a statement is just saying this is wrong.
But definitely continue the conversations. We felt that the speaker should go to Sissy Porsche. Fantastic job. You came in very close second. But yeah, thank you. See you next time. Next debate is Thursday.